Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Bujin deck profile. So this deck is a really interesting deck, and probably the original Protect the King deck, which is a really interesting concept, where you're trying to get out your copy of Bujin Yamato onto your side of the field as quickly as possible, and then back it up with all sorts of different plays, like using Bujin Key Crane, Bujin Turtle, and Bujin Hare to protect your monster, while you search through the deck for the particular plays that you need, until you can upgrade into your Susanoo, which is a really awesome boss monster. So, without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, so you have some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting requested deck profile every single month that you are a patron, along with test hands. So, without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Bujin Yamato. So Bujin Yamato is basically the main card of the entire deck. What this card does is once returned during your end phase, you can add 1 Bujin monster from your deck to your hand, then send a card from your hand to the graveyard, which is pretty good. It helps break even. It doesn't give you any pluses. It's just kind of that slow, steady card that helps you get your cards out of your deck. Now, the really cool thing, if you guys haven't noticed, I know I brought this up in previous profiles, but if you haven't seen those, these monsters are actually based off of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX characters. This is actually based on Jaden's look. If you look at his hair, the way his hair looks, it's actually Jaden. So, then we play 2 copies of Harume. Harume is pretty good in the deck too. Harume has ability that you can banish a Bujin monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is summoned this way, it is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, by battle or by card effect, and sent from your side of the field to the graveyard. Both players have a hand. Both players discard a card, which is pretty cool. If you don't discard, your opponent doesn't have to discard though. We then play a single copy of Mikazuchi. Mikazuchi is pretty good too, because when a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn during the end phase, if a Bujin monster was sent from your hand to the graveyard this turn, while you controlled this face-up card, you can add a Bujin spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which we only play 1, which is Bujin Incarnation. We play 2 copies of Bujin Arasuda. Arasuda is pretty good too, because if you control if a Bujin monster is removed from your graveyard, is banished from your field or graveyard, then you special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and then once returned during the end phase, if a Bujin card is added from your deck to your hand this turn, except by drawing it, while you control this face-up card, you can draw a card and then discard a card, which can help you set up your graveyard for all sorts of different plays. We play 2 copies of Bujin Haruka. Haruka is pretty neat too, because Haruka has the Pendulum effect, which is the only Pendulum card in the entire deck. It's pretty much a spell card that you can banish this card from your Pendulum zone, and then target a Bujin Xyz monster you control. Special summon 1 Bujin Xyz monster with a different name by using that monster as a materials, which is pretty good to be able to go from like a copy of your Susanoo to a copy of maybe your Kagasuchi or Tsukuyomi, which is pretty good to be able to go into those monsters. So then we play 3 copies of Bujin Crane, which is probably one of the best cards in the entire deck. During damage calculation, if a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control is battling an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to double the attack of your monster, bringing up the Bujin Yamato to 3,600 because it sits at 18 normally, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Senyo. Senyo is pretty good too, because during either player's damage step, if a Beast Warrior Bujin monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and that monster you control gains attack equal to its current attack of the opponent's monster it's battling, and if it does, all battle damage inflicted to your opponent is halved, but it does make it live through a battle, which is super helpful. We then play its kind of counterpart looking monster, which is a single copy of Quillin. Quillin, if a Bujin Beast Warrior monster you control battles, or if you control a Bujin Beast Warrior monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target 1 face-up monster or 1 face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. It just gives you an additional pop, which is super helpful. 2 copies of Turtle, which helps your Bujin monsters not be able to be targeted by banishing this card. You can banish this card from your graveyard if a Bujin is targeted. You can banish this card and negate the targeting effect, which is pretty cool. 2 copies of Hare. Hare is really good because during either player's turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Bujin monster, and then once per turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, so it's really helpful to be able to stop cards like that. 2 copies of Honest, just to help us honestly get through battles. But basically, if a light monster you control battles, you can discard this card from your hand and then make your light monster gain attack points equal to the monster it's battling, which is super helpful to be able to do. And then 3 copies of Ash Blossom just to help us get through duels by stopping our opponent with all sorts of different shenanigans. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing some really interesting new spells in this deck, which is going to be a single copy of Called by the Grave, because we can only play 1 Called by the Grave now, but that's not a big deal because we have plenty of other plays in the deck. We play a single copy of Bujin Carnation, which is the card that we search off of Mikazuchi, that if your opponent controls a monster and I don't control a monster, then you can target a Bujin monster in your graveyard and one of your banished Bujin monsters, special summon both of them, and then immediately Xyz summon into a Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast type monster, which is pretty cool. Really interesting fact, though, they never created a Winged Beast Bujin monster that's an Xyz, so maybe one day we'll get one. We then play a single copy of Double or Nothing, because it is a primarily rank 4 base deck, so it'd be kind of crazy not to play Double or Nothing in this deck, because it's super easy to go into Utopia Double and just OTK your opponent. We then play 2 copies of the new XYZ Import. So this card is pretty neat. I like this card. At first glance, you might be looking at this card and being like, that's a lot of setup, but in a deck like this, it's really not. It can help you with a lot of problematic cards and interrupt your opponent, especially if you go first like Bujins want to. It lets you target an Xyz monster you control and one monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to it, and attach that opponent's monster to your monster as a material. So if you have something like your copy of Bujin Susanoo that has 2400 attack, and you're playing against any deck that normal summons a monster or summons any monster to their side of the field that's less than 2400, then you can flip this card, take the opponent's monster, and immediately interrupt your opponent, also while giving your Bujin Susanoo an additional effect, which is pretty nice. I mean, this card is really good to be able to disrupt your opponent. So then we play 3 copies of Ties of the Brethren. Ties of the Brethren help you get your Bujins from your deck to your side of the field to be able to go into Xyz plays and get your copy of like Yamato to your side of the field, but you can't declare an attack the turn that this card is activated, but you have to pay 2,000 life points as well. We then, for the last 3 spells, play 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. When this card is activated, you get to add a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior type monster from your deck to your hand, and all Beast Warrior monsters you control gain 1,000 attack. Cool thing about Ties of the Brethren, though, going back to that card, is that you have to pay 2,000 life points and then target a level 4 or lower monster you control, and then special summon from your deck monsters with the same type, attribute, and level as that monster. So for instance, if you have in your hand a copy of Mikazuchi and you don't really want to summon it, you do normal summon it with Ties of the Brethren, and then you get to summon out the copy of Arasuda and a copy of Yamato, so you get all 3 of those monsters out on your side of the field as quickly as possible to get your copy of Yamato out of your deck, which is really helpful to be able to get it out of your deck and start making plays on your side of the field. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Solemn Strike and 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Now, the copies of Solemn Strike you can interchange out. If you want to play Nibiru, you can play Nibiru in this place. Or if there's another card that you particularly want to play over the copy of Solemn Strike, you can. I just really like stopping my opponent from playing, which is why I play Strike and Judgment at 2 and 3, because you want to go first in this deck a lot, so being able to set those cards on your side of the field, along with having cards to negate, like Battle, like your copy of Crane to kind of scare your opponent into not attacking you, and then having Strike and Judgment to be able to back you up with protecting your Yamato on your side of the field is really, really nice. Especially if your opponent's going in for like an Anaconda, you can actually use the Solemn Strike to negate that, and then you have your copy of Judgment to be able to stop everything else. This card can basically say no to everything, and my saying with Solemn Judgment is as long as you haven't lost, you always have half to pay for Judgment to be able to be activated. So it's a really good card as a 3 of. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Bujinti Susanoo. This card's really good. It can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, and then once per turn you can detach a material from this card, and then take a Bujin monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard, which is super nice to be able to just grab whatever you need. And especially with the XYZ import, you get an additional search off this card. One copy of Kagasuchi. This card basically just mills 5 cards off the top of your deck when it's XZ summon, which is not super hard to be able to XZ summon this card, and sometimes with your Bujin cards like Hare and Turtle, it's not too bad to have them in the graveyard. And especially with Harume in your hand, you can also summon Harume by banishing a Bujin from the graveyard. The copy of Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi is really cool because you can detach a material from this card and then send your entire hand to the graveyard, minimum 1, and then you get to draw 2 cards, and then while this card you control is face up on the field, leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can target level 4 Beast Warrior type Bujin monsters in your graveyard up to the number of Xyz monsters this card had on it on the field and special summon those targets, and you can only control 1 copy of Tsukiyomi. We then play Utopia Doubles, which is the copy of Utopia Double and Utopia, just to be able to attack your opponent for 10,000. It's super helpful to be able to just go into that. 1 copy of Tornado Dragon, just to be able to pop spells and traps. It's pretty helpful to go into a copy of Tornado Dragon just in case. Baguska to be able to kind of lock your opponent down just in case you need to. Exciton Knight to be able to blow board just in case you need to. Daigusto Emerald to recover cards and be able to draw a card as well, which was really nice. Abyss Dweller to lock down graveyards. Gagaga Cowboy for game. Number 60 to double the attack of a monster, especially with your copy of Bujin Susanoo. Susanoo is pretty good to be able to double the attack of it and then be able to attack every single monster your opponent controls. And then a single copy, which is our only link monster of the Bujin link monster, which is Arahasama. I'm not even going to try with that one. But basically what this card does is it helps you make an additional Xyz play, and also if an XYZ monster you control that this card points to activates its effect by detaching a material, you can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it, which is pretty nice. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I highly recommend that you guys give it a try. It's very, 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 very budget to play around with Bujins nowadays. You don't have to get the ultimate rare Susanoos to play this deck. They actually make a platinum rare, which is a very cheap version of the Susanoo, and everything else in the main deck has been printed probably as a common by now, and you can just basically pick the deck up for little to nothing, probably less than $50, and play around with a pretty nice deck that you could carry to local. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. One quick side note as well, as you notice, you don't play a lot of link monsters in the extra deck as well. You can kind of change out those Xyz monsters. As long as you're playing rank 4 Xyz, you're pretty much doing it right. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.